So could you provide a little bit of background as to how you ended up deciding to get involved with the Catholic campus ministry?
Right. So I was ordained a priest of the Archdiocese of Cincinnati 4 years ago. College campus ministry had a big impact in my life when I was in college. It was really there that I started thinking about the priesthood. It was really there that I really came to know who Jesus Christ was and what a relationship with Him meant for my life. So it had a big impact in my life, and so when the opportunity came to maybe hopefully have an impact in other people's lives, I jumped at the opportunity. So hopefully it goes well, but I'm pretty happy to be here.
Could you tell me a little bit about the current service schedule at the ministry?
It has been kind of tricky with COVID because we've got kind of a small chapel here to begin with. So we've kind of always had size issues or space issues, but now that we're trying to maintain distancing and everything, it's been a little bit tough too. But for the most part, like people have been able to come and everybody's wearing their masks. People are spread out enough that it's been pretty safe and pretty above board. But yeah, we're still offering mass, and especially on the weekends, we'd love to have as many people as like to come out.
How do you guys plan to utilize that outdoor space that you are so fortunate enough to have to engage with the community?
Yeah. So especially like when people were first moving in, we had a good number of bonfires and whatnot. We kind of had some conversations with Wright State University, with the brass, so to speak. And we're on our own property here, which is nice, right? However, we want to also respect kind of the policies that Wright State has been implementing as far as the COVID safety. So for the past week and a half going into this next week, because all the student activities have been on hold until the 7th is what my understanding has been. So we've also suspended a lot of our events during that time. Even though they had been outside, even though they had been with mass and distancing and stuff like that, we still wanting to honor what Wright State is trying to do. But the hope is that once we're able to start up again, we've been having something we call Bosco nights on Wednesday nights, which is after mass we have dinner and then we have like either some fun event or like a conversation on something important, right? We'd like to hopefully start that up, and the plan has been to be able to have dinner outside so that people can be spaced out, and then to move into the chapel, which has enough space in it for people for the talk itself. So hopefully we'll be able to get that rolling once everybody kind of gets their events starting up again. It is a gift that we're able to have this space outdoors, especially now that the weather is getting nice, to be able to spread out. That way we can still have some measure of community in the midst of all this isolation and loneliness. We can still have some opportunity for people to get to know each other and be able to spend time together.
What plans are in place to allow students to be involved with the church virtually if they are not comfortable coming into the facility?
Yeah. So we actually had a donor pay for live streaming, a live streaming camera and system, right? Hopefully this Saturday, so in a few days, to install it. So I would hope for mid-September we'll be able to have our masses live streamed online and then available just as recordings. So we'll see how that contingencies, how those play out, but it is our hope to have our services online. Ideally this weekend, but at the very least by mid-September.
So on a more serious note, what plan is in place for if you guys find out that somebody who came in to attend a mass ended up testing positive for COVID? Or say if someone high up within the church like yourself were to test positive?
Right now, generally speaking, the plan is like if I were to test positive, if it became the case that I could no longer come and say mass, of course we try to notify everybody as quickly as possible that I had tested positive, or if any member of the community tested positive. If it were enough of a threat that we feel like we could not hold services, and so they said mass entirely virtually. So in a sense, like the value of the mass is not merely in attendance, it's in the fact that we're offering this sacrifice to the Lord for the good of the whole church, right? So it has value if you're able to experience it, but even if you're not. So Father Ethan was saying mass and was live streaming it just himself, right? So we got to the point where, like you said, like worst case scenario, things hit the fan so bad that we couldn't say Mass again, we'd probably go back to that mode which we were already kind of experienced in, of saying Mass and live streaming it so that people could still attend it. Ideally, like if I got hit, and there have been a number of priests in the Archdiocese, we would try to get coverage from other priests as much as possible, especially making Sunday Masses a priority. If that were not possible, there might be some gaps in as far as being able to celebrate Mass, but at least the idea of like knowing that the Mass is still being celebrated, and ideally that you can still witness it even if only virtually, would kind of be like our worst case fallback, if that makes sense.
All right, and then the last question I have for you, do you have any messages that you believe students, staff, and families would really benefit from hearing at the moment?
You know, I one of the things that, because my mind has been a lot on kind of the isolation that we're feeling, and I think it's something that we focused on a lot at the beginning of the whole pandemic, especially when we were all quarantined, but it's still true now, is like we can have this sense sometimes where we feel, I'm in my house, I don't know what to do, I can't get outside, like you feel lonely, you feel isolated, you feel like nobody cares. Without trying to sound too crazy or anything, like the devil wants us to be lonely, you know? Like he wants to pick us apart and separate us. The truth of the matter is that there are a lot of people who love us, right? There are a lot of people who care for us, there are a lot of people who are really invested in our well-being. Like, pick up the phone, call people, get to know people, form those relationships, even if there are sort of restrictions on what relationships are allowed to happen right now. There are definitely people here who want to get to know you. There are definitely people here who want you to feel welcome. So if you are feeling lonely, stop by, pick up your phone and call some friends. You know, it doesn't have to be us, but there are definitely people out there who want to love you and who want you to feel like you belong here.
All right, Father Tim, thank you so much for sitting down to meet with me. I really appreciate it, and I know that the student, staff, and families of Wright State will really love to hear what you have to say.
All right, thank you so much, Caitlin. Take care of yourself.